Denver, Colorado is one of the fastest growing cities in the US right now. If you live here or in for a visit, you probably wouldn't think that the city suffers from a food desert plague. But the reality is, there are an estimated 20 areas in Denver City that don't have access to healthy food. One of these areas in particular, located right off of Interstate 70 in Northeast Denver, is feeling the negative effects associated with the lack of access to healthy food and has for quite some time. The Elyria-Swansea neighborhood is the name of this area and could definitely benefit from a more nutritious diet. For those of you not familiar with this area, the Elyria-Swansea neighborhood is surrounded by transportation infrastructures, manufacturing plants, and home of the Nestle Purina Pet Care Company. The neighborhood is said to be the most populated zip code with the lowest household income in the city. So not only is it the most densely populated zip code in Denver, with approximately 6,500 residents, almost 30% of those residents are living in poverty, without access to educational and employment opportunities, and most importantly, healthy, fresh food. So let's quickly back up for a moment and talk a little bit about what food deserts are and why this is important. According to the USDA, a food desert is an urban area in which it's difficult to buy food. So, in other words, people have to travel more than a mile to go to a grocery store or a supermarket. This presents a problem for many low-income individuals and families, as it's not unusual for these people to rely heavily on public transportation to get around. Extra costs associated with long trips is not ideal, and more often than not, the frozen food or fast food meals are the more economic option. So we all know by now that poor diet is linked to chronic diseases like obesity and diabetes and a variety of cardiovascular illnesses. So what happens when people can't afford to eat, have to go to the doctor, and take medications on a sometimes daily basis just to survive? Well, since most low-income individuals and families rely heavily on Medicare and Medicaid, it's very likely that your tax dollars are footing a large portion of the medical costs associated with obesity. But let's again pause for a moment and talk some numbers. So in 2014, an estimated $1.6 billion was spent on treating obesity in the state of Colorado alone. That's roughly $2,000 per person, and that's a lot of dough. But it could all be prevented with the right diet and access to healthy food. I visited the Elyria-Swansea neighborhood to see for myself how bad this food crisis actually is. I mean, I really only live about 20 blocks away. I'm downtown Denver, and I couldn't think it would be that bad. But I have to say, I was pretty shocked. So my boyfriend and I took an afternoon, and we drove out to the neighborhood and drove around the perimeters and through the streets and the housing. We anticipated seeing a McDonald's or even a Popeyes, but there was not even a fast food restaurant in this neighborhood. All we saw were a 7-Eleven, a couple of corner stores, a Hispanic food market, and one cafe, the Cindy Lynn. No, we did not stop for lunch at the Cindy Lynn, but I can say in confidence that I'm pretty sure quinoa and or kale is not a staple item on the menu. But all jokes aside, there are certainly plenty of government programs out there to help low-income communities, such as SNAP, Supplemental Nutritional Assistance Program, which is basically food stamps, or things like the WIC program, Women, Infant, and Children. These are all great programs, and they definitely provide some level of support, but they don't necessarily compensate for the lack of transportation to healthy food sources or even provide the right education so people can make healthy food choices. So how do we not just feed our low-income residents, but empower them and educate them to make the right decisions when it comes to their health? One not-for-profit organization, the Grow House, located just west of the railroad tracks on York Street between 47th and 48th in the Elyria Swansea neighborhood, is doing just that. Their vision is to catalyze a neighborhood based on a food system that is healthy and equitable and very resident-driven. They're achieving this vision through 3 program areas, which are 1, food production. So the Grow House produces fresh produce year-round, and this demonstrates innovative, community-oriented urban farming techniques. The second is food distribution. They're working really closely with the community and provide fresh and healthy food at a price all residents can afford. And the third piece is education. So the Grow House offers education for all community members, regardless of their age, around nutrition, gardening, cooking, and whatever other skills are needed to create a healthy community. And so I just think this is so cool, and it really excites me to see this type of work being done in our city. There's so many ways to get involved, either through donations or volunteer work. And you can definitely head over to their website to learn more. It's www.growhouse.org. GROWHAUS, and I encourage you all to become a part of this movement and put an end to food inequality. Thank you.